What is going on? I'm Cole, and if you are looking for a new novella horror novel, I think I got just the book for you. So today we're talking about Squirming All the Way Up. This is from author Joey Powell. This is a book I got from NetGalley as a review copy, and it is from Madness Heart Press. As I said, this is a novella, so it's coming in at about, I think it's like 150 some pages is what they have it listed on Amazon. And you can either grab a digital version of this or the paperback. I ended up getting it obviously in digital because this was a review copy. This book is actually coming out in a few days on August 15th. So if this sounds like something that you're interested in, make sure that you go out there and check it out. Once again, I grabbed this book because I've been looking for some new horror books just to check out new stuff. And, it's kind of if you've watched this channel, you know that I gravitate towards horror. It's probably my favorite genre, so I really like to check out new stuff. So this is a little bit different than most of the stuff that I read in horror. I think this overall kind of follows this religious cult that has very conservative values. There's one brother becomes part of this cult, right? And he's just living with his wife, and you kind of get his narrative and what he's feeling, how this cult kind of saved him. And there's another brother who, he kind of betrayed throughout his childhood. This brother came out as gay, and he just, he thought that that was a sin, and he kind of went the exact opposite way, right? Kind of full of hate. And this book is kind of this cool redemption tale as you get through. And these brothers are working together as they kind of figure out this weird mystery within this church. And while, there are some very realistic things here in kind of the horror of this cult or this church, that is something that you can maybe think of every day, right? It's, there's stuff like this out in the world. And while, it might not be as prevalent or people might not see it as much, this is something that could happen. However, this book does take a pretty crazy twist to where this they call it the Fellowship of the First Divine, right? This church, it actually has some Viking pull, but there's also a very like kind of supernatural, also horror-y aspect to this that maybe I won't go into. And maybe, but that's kind of what's driving some of this hate from this group. Overall, I grabbed this book because I was looking for, more horror books, and there just aren't a ton on NetGalley. So, I kind of will grab whatever I can. And while this might not be kind of something that I would normally pick up, I think this is really good. Like I said, I don't read a lot of like cult-based horror books, so this is definitely kind of an interesting take. It did have an interesting twist that I really enjoy. I think, if you're somebody that uses the word like woke is an insult, you probably are not really going to like this book. And, again, horror books are always really not for everyone. But I think, there was nothing in this book to me, like while there was some gross imagery and some more like body horror stuff, I don't think that there was anything in this book that is like super, super scary. I mean, besides the stuff that is real life scary for some people, right? So I don't think, if you're overly scared of stuff, this might not, this might be an easy transition for you to try some horror stuff. If, going into the, like what I explained is good, but I mean, this book does, include some trauma. It has some homophobia, some transphobia, and, they're going through even like some transition therapy type stuff. So, if some of this stuff is triggering for you, I would maybe also recommend not grabbing this book. But overall, I enjoyed it. I think, for the cult style stuff of it, it was pretty good. There's some realistic scares in here, but also, towards the end of where you kind of learn what's going on and within this cult, there is some pretty big actual like more monstery scares and some kind of like body horror-ish stuff in this book. Once again, we're talking Squirming All the Way Up. This is from author Joey Powell. It releases on August 15th, 2025 from Madness Heart Press. And once again, I'm going to say I really enjoyed this book. I think this book, the scariness and like the stuff that you feel for this book is more realistic, I think, than some of the stuff that might be scary, or angering from more typical horror books. But overall, I think this is a good book. It is also fairly quick, so if you're looking for a horror novella, highly recommend. And once again, I have been Cole. Thank you for coming and checking out this book review. Peace.